Welcome to Hornbill Studios. I'm here to review this brand new lens 24 to 70mm f2.8 DGDN art lens, which is generation 2. So we already had a 24 to 70mm f2.8 DGDN art lens. Okay, this is going to be an overall enhancement, like optically, autofocus wise and operation wise. Sigma has enhanced this lens and is now going to release it as a second generation lens. As all of you might know, there's already a 2470 f2.8 DGDN art lens from Sigma for both L mount and E mount. And why this second generation? Sigma engineers have improved this lens optically, autofocus wise, operability wise, and with all these they have shrunk the size of the barrel slightly, the lens slightly, and even brought a reduction in the weight. Okay, externally if you look at this lens, the earlier lens didn't have this aperture control. After 70-100, I guess art lenses will be getting aperture control, which is declickable and lockable, and the other control you see is a lock for the zoom creep. So once you lock it, the lens doesn't creep while packing and all that. At the same time, okay, you are doing street photography or something like that and you want to immediately zoom. If you zoom, the lock releases, and that's the design for you guys. Of course, it has a AF/MF switch and a function switch for shooting both horizontally and vertically. The function is mirror. If you have AF lock on this button, then the function is mirrored. So this is the way the lens looks. It has a beautiful lens hood, which is again having a very nice lock. Overall, the build quality feels awesome and it's completely weather sealed. I'm going to use the Sigma FPL camera as it is a 61 megapixel camera, and I can check if the lens resolves 61 megapixels. For autofocus tests and for video, we are going to be using the Lumix S5 Mark II. Hereafter, all the videos where I am talking will be on this lens mounted on a S5 Mark II. So tomorrow I am going to shoot an event in Coimbatore. Thereafter, we will be proceeding to Valparai to shoot some nature. With all these experiences, I am sure I will be able to tell how this lens is as a story in this review. Whether it was about shooting the event or while doing the street photographs at the Maasaniamman Temple, the autofocus was extremely fast. It's due to the HLA motors or the linear actuators, which are really fast in transporting the group. So though the lens was made smaller, they have made a lot of advances in the optics. Most of the times when I was shooting portraits, they appear to be sharp, and sharp to the extent it comes close to a prime art lens. When it comes to personal photography, I love to explore places. I'm on water, I'm on mountains, I like to drive around everything. So when I'm doing all these things, the photographic gear, the camera and lenses need to support it. And like when I'm shooting the stream here, long exposure and all that, okay, there's every chance water can splash on the lens. This lens 24 to 70 f2.8 DGDN art, the generation 2 is completely weather sealed. So my mind is free for it and so compact that I can put it in one of my bags and carry it around. In the field, we were really happy with the autofocus performance and the operability and the convenience this lens gave because it was low weight. And when it comes to low weight, where the weight reduction came from compared to the earlier generation of the lens. And one more thing is, after all this convenience, speed and everything, it means nothing if the image quality is not great. So the image quality of a lens is highly dependent on the optical design of the lens. They have used 6 FLD glass elements, 2 SLD glass elements and 5 double-sided aspherical lenses are used with advanced materials and lower wall thickness, which has brought the optical performance of the lens to a higher level, at the same time reducing the lens's weight. In the last 3 days, I have shot a commercial event, portraits, landscape and even a couple of monkeys. We felt that the optical performance of the lens was really good because it resulted in amazing images, good color reproduction, everything. And especially when I shot the lens at 70 mm at f2.8, I was happily able to get a decent shallow depth of field for a portrait and the image was really sharp. I should say from f2.8 across the range from 24 to 70, the corner to corner sharpness was impeccable, I should say. And when it comes to distortions, I think it was a little bit of pin cushion and barrel distortion. Pin cushion at 70 mm and a little bit of barrel distortion at 24 mm. When it comes to aberration, I should say the lens was really well corrected. I could not see any kind of chromatic aberration in the lens. The lens is quite good when it comes to flaring and ghosting resistance. To that extent, I could not observe any kind of ghosting in that lens. But when it comes to flaring, when the sun is directly in the frame, the lens exhibited a little bit of flaring, which was not really bad and affected the image as such. The image was still contrasty. The best part of this lens is the contrast of the image is there from the center to the periphery, and the peripheral contrast has been highly improved in the second generation of the lens compared to the earlier one. I was surprised to see a very beautiful bokeh from this lens, adding to the fact that this lens will be able to close focus and it has about f2.8 as the maximum aperture. It was able to produce some nice round bokeh balls, but as expected in the corners, it was not completely round. Slight cat eyes were seen, but for a zoom lens like this, I would say it is really good. Another good improvement Sigma has done on the second generation lens is the sagittal coma. Sagittal coma is nothing but, say if you have a star or something in the frame, it gets elongated like a comet, especially in the peripheral area of the image. And this has been improved and it gives a nearly circular image of the star. I couldn't see stars because it was very cloudy for the last 3 days in Valparai. So I actually shot some distant street lights which were appearing circular. So I hope the sagittal coma is corrected compared to the earlier generation of this lens. I've been shooting with this lens for the past 3-4 days. So I started with the Marudhamalai Temple, some street photography, did a complete commercial event, still photography, then came to Valparai for some nature shots and landscapes. I should say I was extremely happy. Be it the optical quality of the lens, it gave end-to-end sharpness across the range, across the apertures. The autofocus felt really fast because of the linear HLA motors, and with all this it weighs lesser and felt comfortable in hand, and having that aperture ring was something special to me because I'm used to those rings in the art lenses. The 24 to 70 mm is an extremely versatile range for both professionals as well as serious amateur photographers. That's why it could be one of the first lenses for photographers, and if you are traveling with only one lens for travel photography or for professional event assignments for event photographers, wedding photographers, you can do the whole project with one lens, and that is the 24-70. This lens is especially special for me because usually zoom lenses tend to have lesser details. Usually the prime lenses used to be very sharp, and I used to use that. Now I think that thing is slightly changing, and these zoom lenses have become extremely sharp and the optically really good. Add to that a very good linear autofocus motor makes it easy to shoot assignments like weddings with that lens for both videography and photography. Another great thing about this lens is the macro capability of this lens, right from 24 mm to 70 mm. So as wedding photographers, we need to shoot stuff like rings, thali and things like that, and we definitely need a macro lens. With this lens, it is an all-in-one package for sure. When it comes to the optical quality, I think the chromatic aberration was non-existent and the flares were under control. So with all these things, this makes an extremely promising choice for a general walk-around lens for a street photographer, a good lens for a landscape photographer, and for weddings, probably for some of the photographers, this is the only lens you need. Without an iota of doubt, I recommend this lens for all L mount and E mount users, be it wedding photographers or photographers who are looking for a general walk around lens. I was extremely happy with this lens. Highly recommended.